My phone buzzed with a message that would flip my entire life upside down. I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my new baby. I already sold our house, foolish man. I stared at the screen. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. I just smiled. Good luck, I replied. My name is Aaron Bell. I'm 38, an architect based out of Denver. I've always been a quiet man, the kind who listens more than he talks, observes more than he acts. That probably made people think I was soft. Predictable? Safe? I met Casey when I was 29. She was a barista at this artsy coffee shop downtown that all my coworkers loved. She wasn't just serving coffee, she was creating art with it, drawing intricate designs in the foam that made customers pause before taking their first sip. One rainy afternoon while I was waiting for my macchiato, she looked up from her masterpiece and smiled at me like she'd known me forever. It wasn't just a customer service smile. It had depth, warmth. You come in here almost every day, but I don't think we've ever really talked, she said, sliding my drink across the counter. Her eyes were this unusual shade of amber, almost golden in the right light. We talked for an hour after her shift ended. I found out she loved sketching old buildings, capturing the soul and history of architecture in ways that fascinated me. I told her I was an architect who designed modern structures but had a secret passion for historical preservation. From there, it felt like fate just clicked into place. Casey had this energy, this spontaneous spark that drew people to her. Where I was methodical and measured, she was impulse and inspiration. She could walk into a room and change its atmosphere just by existing in it. She said I grounded her. I liked that. She said I was the first man who ever made her feel safe. I wore those words like a badge of honor. Maybe that's why I didn't see it coming. Or maybe I did, but I ignored the signs. We got married 2 years later, in a small ceremony by Lake Dillon. I remember how the October sunlight caught her hair as she said her vows, making it look like she was wearing a crown of fire. I gave her the world, or as much of it as I could afford. She wanted to quit her job and go to art school. I said yes without hesitation. I picked up extra clients, worked weekends, sometimes staying at the office until midnight finalizing drawings. I skipped vacations, turned down a promising position at a larger firm in Chicago because she loved Denver too much to leave. When she had an idea for a little boutique downtown, a place that would sell local artists, work alongside vintage finds, I dipped into my inheritance from my grandfather to help her start it. $50,000. Money I'd been saving for our future home. It failed within 8 months. Too much inventory, not enough foot traffic. But I never held it over her head. She tried again a year later. Different location, similar concept. I put in another $30,000. This time it lasted almost a year. Both times, I helped her pack up unsold merchandise, held her while she cried about her dreams slipping away, and assured her that it wasn't her fault. The market was tough. The timing was wrong. We'd figure it out together. We had no kids. That was a sore spot that grew into an open wound over time. We tried for years, temperatures, ovulation charts, specialists, procedures. I remember holding her hand through every appointment, every test, every disappointment. The last miscarriage at 14 weeks broke her, I think. She changed after that. She stopped talking about the future, stopped sketching buildings, started going out more, drinking more with a new group of friends I rarely met. Said she needed space, time, a life outside our marriage. I gave it to her. I figured she needed to grieve, to find herself again. I trusted her. Maybe I trusted too much. The late nights got later, the explanations got vaguer, our conversations got shorter, but I kept telling myself it was just a phase, that we'd weathered harder storms before. A month before the text, she had flown out to Miami to visit her cousin. Or so she said. She came back tanned, happier, glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. She brought me a seashell and a tacky magnet for our refrigerator. I was relieved, thinking the trip had finally helped her heal. We even made love that night for the first time in months. It felt like a new beginning. And then, just like that, on a Wednesday morning, while I was reviewing blueprints for a new community center, I got that text. When I read the words, "I already sold our house," I knew immediately something was wrong. Legally wrong. The house may have been under her LLC for tax purposes related to her boutique ventures, but it was still marital property. She couldn't sell it without my signature on the deed transfer. Not in Colorado. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my family, not my friends, not even Mark, my business partner, who could read me better than most. I needed to process it on my own. I left the office without explanation and drove home, my mind already mapping out the necessary legal steps. What I found shocked me even beyond the text. Our closet cleaned out. Not just her clothes. She'd taken half of mine too. The expensive suits and watches I rarely wore. Half the furniture gone, including the dining set that had been in my family for 3 generations. She'd taken photo albums, artwork, kitchen appliances. She'd even emptied our shared safe of the jewelry I'd given her over the years, along with my grandfather's vintage coin collection, worth over $60,000. She'd already listed our house. Our home, the 1920s craftsman we'd spent 2 years carefully restoring together. There was a for sale sign in the yard, and according to the neighbor who approached me as I stood there dumbfounded, there had been an open house the previous weekend while I was at a conference in Salt Lake City. She even took my dog, Max, a chocolate lab we'd rescued as a puppy 3 years ago. The dog who slept at the foot of our bed every night and who'd been my faithful companion on morning runs and weekend hikes. I took photos of everything, the empty spaces where my property had been, the open safe, the closets. Then I called my lawyer, David Harrington. We'd been friends since college, and he specialized in family law. "She can't sell the house without your consent," David confirmed after I explained the situation. "No matter whose name is on the paperwork, it's marital property in Colorado. She already has buyers lined up," I told him. The text said she already sold it. "She might have a purchase agreement, but the sale can't close without your signature." David's voice was calm, measured. "We need to file an emergency injunction right away to formally stop any pending sale." Within 2 hours, David had prepared the necessary paperwork. By the end of the day, a judge had signed an emergency order blocking any sale of the property. David also helped me file a police report for the stolen items, particularly the coin collection, watches, and family heirlooms, which were clearly my separate property and not marital assets. I stayed in the house that night, surrounded by the empty spaces where our life together had been. It felt hollow, but also strangely peaceful. The shock was wearing off, replaced by a cold clarity I'd never experienced before. She didn't know I'd already grown suspicious months before. She didn't know that when I noticed her password protecting her phone, or when I saw unexplained charges on our credit card statement from Miami Beach hotels, dated 3 months before her cousin visit, I had quietly started preparing for the worst. She didn't know I had consulted David after seeing large withdrawals from our joint accounts. $5,000 here, $8,000 there, all just under the threshold that would trigger an automatic notification from our bank. And she didn't know that while she was off playing house with her new baby and boyfriend, I was steps ahead of her fraudulent scheme. 2 days after her text, while I was meeting with David to file divorce paperwork, my phone rang. It was Casey. "What the hell did you do?" Her voice trembled with rage. "The sale was supposed to close today, and now my realtor says there's some kind of court order." "You can't sell the house without my consent," I replied calmly. "It's marital property, but it's under my company. The paperwork doesn't matter. You needed my signature to transfer the deed. You committed fraud, Casey." Silence stretched between us. "Then, we need that money, Aaron. We've already put a deposit on a place in Miami." "That sounds like a personal problem," I said. "By the way, the police would like to talk to you about my grandfather's coin collection and the other items you took from the safe." "Your? What? Those were in our house." "Theft is theft," I said, still maintaining that calm tone. "Inheritance and family heirlooms remain separate property in a marriage. You knew that." "You're being ridiculous," she hissed. "After everything I've done for you." "Good luck in Miami, Casey. I said and ended the call. I learned through mutual friends that she and her new boyfriend, a real estate developer named Jason, she'd met while sourcing furniture for a client's vacation home, had already committed the expected proceeds from the house sale to several investments. They'd put a non-refundable deposit on a luxury condo in North Miami Beach. They'd invested in Jason's latest development project. They'd even purchased a boat, all based on money she thought she was getting from a fraudulent house sale. The baby she had mentioned in her text was his, not mine. She'd been pregnant during her Miami trip, probably about 12 weeks along. That glowing look when she returned? It wasn't happiness about reconnecting with me. It was the flush of new love, new life, new escape plans. And I had mistaken it for a second chance for us. I stayed quiet. Let the pieces fall. Let her perfect new life reveal its cracks. 1 week after her text, I received a formal letter from the Miami-Dade Police Department. They'd conducted an interview with Casey regarding the stolen property. She claimed everything she took was gifts or joint property. But the documentation I'd provided, especially for the coin collection, which had been specifically left to me in my grandfather's will, was indisputable. She was given 2 options: return all stolen items in their original condition or face grand theft charges. For the items she claimed she no longer had, including 2 watches she'd already sold and several pieces from the coin collection, she would need to provide full financial restitution. The next day, my lawyer received a call from Casey's hastily hired attorney in Miami. They wanted to negotiate. Casey would return what she still had and pay for what she'd sold if I would release the injunction on the house so the sale could proceed. Not a chance, I told David. The house is staying with me. She can face the legal consequences of her actions. A few weeks later, I filed for divorce. Casey tried to fight me on the remaining assets, our investment accounts, my retirement funds, even my business stake. But the paper trail of her spending, the theft, and the attempted fraudulent house sale left her with little leverage. David was thorough, cold, effective. We had documentation of every unauthorized withdrawal, every hidden credit card, every lie. In the end, the court was not sympathetic to Casey's position. She was ordered to return all stolen items still in her possession, which arrived in boxes, many items damaged from careless handling. She was required to pay restitution for the items she'd sold or couldn't return. She received none of our investment accounts due to her documented financial misconduct. The buyers who had nearly purchased our house sued Casey for misrepresentation, demanding their earnest money back plus damages for expenses they'd incurred in their planned move. The real estate company dropped her as a client and filed a complaint about her attempted fraud. 6 months after she left, I got a text from an unknown Miami number. I made a mistake. Can we talk? I didn't respond. A month later, another message. Things aren't working out here. I miss home. I miss you. I blocked the number. I heard through the grapevine that Jason's development project in Miami, the one Casey had likely invested her remaining money in, had stalled. Permit issues, environmental concerns, investor pullout, the usual cascade of failures that follow men who talk bigger than they can deliver. A year passed. I rebuilt my life quietly. I refurnished the house, room by room, taking my time to select pieces that spoke to me, not trying to fill the emptiness all at once. I threw myself into my work, finally accepting that position at a prestigious architectural firm that had been courting me for years. My designs started winning awards. My name began appearing in architectural journals. And I got Max back. After Casey's financial situation deteriorated, she could no longer afford to keep him in Miami. Rather than contacting me, she gave him to a shelter. She didn't even call to see if I wanted him back. A client who knew our story happened to be at that shelter looking for a rescue dog and recognized Max. She called me immediately. When I walked into that kennel and saw him, tail wagging like nothing had happened, his whole body wiggling with joy at the sight of me, that's when I finally cried. Not for Casey, not for our marriage, but for the innocent creature who'd been discarded without a thought, just like I had been. Now, when I walk through my house, I see the ghosts of who we used to be. The wall where we once marked Max's growth as a puppy. The kitchen where she taught me to make her grandmother's lasagna. The bedroom where we had whispered our dreams and fears to each other in the dark. But they don't haunt me anymore. They remind me of what I survived. 18 months after she left, Casey showed up at my door. No warning, no text. Just there on a Sunday afternoon while I was gardening in the front yard. She looked different, thinner, with dark circles under those amber eyes, her hair cut short and dyed a darker shade of red than I remembered. "Aaron," she said, her voice catching. "You look good." I straightened up slowly, brushing dirt from my hands. "What do you want, Casey?" I wanted to see you. To explain." She glanced toward the house, our house, as if expecting an invitation inside. I didn't offer one. "There's nothing to explain," I said. "You made your choices." "Jason and I are over," she blurted out. "The money's gone, all of it. The development was a scam. He took most of it and disappeared." I nodded, unsurprised. "And the baby?" Her hand went instinctively to her stomach, though it was flat now. "She's with my mom right now. Her name is Lily." "She's beautiful, Aaron." I said nothing. What was there to say? "I made the biggest mistake of my life," she continued, her eyes welling up. "I threw away everything good for a fantasy." "Yes," I agreed. "You did." She took a step closer. "I know I can't undo what I did, but maybe we could start over? Not right away, but—" No, the single word hung between us, final and unambiguous. "Aaron, please." "Good luck, Casey," I said, turning back to my gardening. The same words I'd texted her that day. Not cruel, not angry, just done. She texts sometimes from new numbers. Apologies, regrets, updates about Lily's first steps, first words. Once she even asked if I wanted to meet her daughter, as if that would somehow heal the breach between us. As if I would want a connection to the child who catalyzed the end of my marriage. I never responded. She made her bed. And I made sure it wasn't in my house. Last week, I ran into her sister at a grocery store. Apparently, Casey's back in Denver, living with her parents, trying to figure things out. She's working at a coffee shop again. Not the artsy one where we met. That place closed years ago. But a corporate chain downtown. The universe has a strange sense of humor sometimes. "She asks about you," her sister said cautiously. "I'm seeing someone," I replied. It wasn't a direct response, but it was the truth. "Emma is an environmental engineer I met through a work project. She's thoughtful, steady, honest. We're taking things slow." Casey's sister nodded, understanding the message. "You seem good, Aaron." "I'm glad." "I am good," I said, and meant it. I'm not a vengeful man, but I'm not a foolish one either. She called me foolish. I called her bluff. And when she realized what I'd done, it was already too late.